On the 28th of April 2025, I reached a milestone I genuinely thought impossible owing to the nature of this channel. I surpassed the 25,000 subscriber mark. What I have said in previous subscriber specials remains true. I am frankly amazed people stick around despite the shotgun blast nature of my content. But nowadays I say my channel is a lot more focused, what with the occasional animation or review of something unrelated to railways being only a side to the main course of historical video and model train reviews. And considering I already let you take a peek behind the curtain of FlyingScott animations, perhaps the greater milestone is to give the more frequent historical railway videos the very same treatment. But before we do that, now would be a good time as any to thank you. Yes, you watching this very video. Not everyone watches the subscriber specials of the YouTubers they watch. I certainly don't do it reliably, so if I was to extrapolate my experience as a YouTube viewer to all of you, you watching this means you're probably more interested in the channel than most, and I genuinely appreciate that a lot. All of your comments genuinely, and I know this sounds more cheesy than a cheap pizza, genuinely make my day better. Thank you. People like to assign me arbitrary street cred because I happen to know my way around an editing program, but I'd like to describe myself more as a YouTube watcher who just happens to make his own stuff. I simply copy the styles and jokes of other YouTubers I myself enjoy. What I mean to say is that nothing I do is impressive. Heck, you could start doing exactly what I do and probably end up with an objectively more entertaining or quality channel after a short while. I gather sources on whatever I want to talk about, boil down the information to a sum of what I've learned, and I can comprehend, and convert that into a video. But I do take pride in wanting to gather all of the footage myself. So, finally getting to the meat of the video, let's go over some of it. Starting out with a few clips I use pretty much every other video, this collection of footage of 60103 Flying Scotsman trundling up and down at Locomotion Shildon back in 2019 is the only footage of Flying Scotsman that I have. And the universe seems pretty set on that remaining that way. When I wanted to film her on the Waverley in 2023, she failed right before her special was due. When I wanted to film her on the Strathspey Railway the same year, she had collided with a stationary train and had been locked away for the day. When I then wanted to film her stationary at the National Railway Museum in 2024, we missed her by a matter of hours. Luckily, the NRM has a lot of other significant locomotives I could film. Most footage I shot was of 4468 Mallard, this shot being the very shot which photographers quite literally line up for. The NRM's Great Hall is a very large and acoustic building. I always have to edit the footage of it on a separate layer, which has the volume reduced by 30 to 40 decibels. Mallard's counterpart from the west coast, rather than the east coast main line, was this Coronation Class Pacific, 6229 Duchess of Hamilton. Comparatively few people were filming or photographing her, allowing me to get quite a few shots with not many people in the way. She was designed under the auspices of William Stanier, who provides the link between two other locomotives, which feature frequently in my videos. The first of which is this Jubilee class number 45699 Galatea. Is it Galatea or Galatea? It's Galatea, isn't it? I managed to film her in two locations, at York and at Scarborough, both in 2019. I used the Scarborough footage more often as there are fewer people waltzing over directly in front of me. It should be noted that the splendid Midland Region Maroon is an inauthentic livery for the Jubilees. Indeed, Galatea wears neither the maroon nor her own name as of recording this very script, as she's masquerading as another classmate of hers. The second Stanier locomotive I filmed in 2019 was Class 5, number 5428, Eric Tracy. There's actually a rather funny story behind this footage, as I had travelled behind 5428 to Gromond to get this footage. But it turned out I was travelling illegally after unknowingly having purchased the incorrect ticket for a round trip to the North Yorkshire Moors Railway headquarters. Luckily for me, before the departure, I had been chatting with 5428's fireman, an older gentleman who came to act as ticket inspector when we met again aboard the train. Sensing I hadn't been fare dodging on purpose or otherwise out of malice, he let me off the hook. A well-earned donation found itself in the donation box that day. Most of my footage shot in the NYMR was filmed on that day. I don't often go to Heritage Railway just to stay at a station purely for filming, so this was a very fruitful venture indeed. This is a Southern Railway's V-Class, better known as the Schools. I quite like these locomotives, as they are, for lack of better words, very cute with how stumpy they look. They also look rather continental with the outside valves. Whenever I need footage of a London, Midland and Scottish locomotive in that company's livery, I usually go for footage from Whitby. Whitby also gave me the opportunity to see one of the pair of London and North Eastern Railway locomotives to be preserved in quantity. Thompson's B1 number 1264. Whitby is a scenic coastal town. Its hotels and B&Bs in high demand by tourists. It is also the mainline terminus of the NYMR. If I had filmed from the other platform, I could have filmed down Northern Trains, Class 158, standing alongside the steam locomotive. Sharing the mainline terminus title with Whitby is Aviemore, being the terminus of the Strathspey Railway in Scotland. I have made a video dedicated to my Strathspey visit in 2023. I used this trip to shoot a lot of B-roll footage, and a few times people have complained about my usage of B-roll. Apparently, if I don't show the specific train I'm talking about in any given video for 98% of that video, people get confused. I would also like to remind those very same people that you sometimes need to swallow to get rid of that excess saliva. The next station up the line from Aviemore on the West Highland mainline is Kingussie. Other than having an incredibly cursed name in today's internet lingo, it was another of my train spotting locations in 2023. We stayed at the Osprey Hotel just a few hundred metres up the street from the station. Whenever I go spotting, I rarely sit around and wait for a specific service, I simply film what I find in the moment. But an exception to the rule was the Caledonian Sleeper, calling at Kingussie, double-headed by Great British Rail Freight's Class 73s, known as shoe boxes for obvious reasons. 4 stations up the line from Kingussie is Pitlochry. When briefly stopping there for a bite to eat, I managed to, by complete chance, film my favourite type of train in service with ScotRail, a Class 43 high-speed train. The HST was filmed in prime sunlight, and its departing shot renders very clear comparisons to be drawn with a few of the running shots of steam trains. I often use a shot of this HST as a transition into, or out of, a similar shot with a steam locomotive. 2023 was a good year for filming. In the same year I visited the Caledonian Railway based at Brechin and the Bowness and Kinneil Railway. The preserved CR had a diesel gala on when we went, which I fully intended to use for an episode of those great locomotives. A link will be provided in the card and in the description. As I used most of the footage shot at the CR in that very video, there will be little to discuss here, though there was this shot of this Class 02 done up as the Thomas the Tank Engine character Mavis. I cannot seem to find out which O2 this would be though. Perhaps one of you would know a bit more about her? Now this is a curious find. This is a Southern Region Class 205, also known as the 3 H's. The H stands for Hampshire, so I was surprised at finding one preserved in Angus. We met Thomas himself at the B&KR. I say Thomas, but this is actually an ex-National Coal Board locomotive named Lord Roberts. The Lord was built in 1899 and sold 3 years later to a joint coal mine and steelworks. She was donated to the Scottish Railway Preservation Society in 1968 when she was hauled as part of a freight train to Falkirk. Those paying attention to this channel might think I was disappointed by having to travel behind Thomas for the day. They would be half right, but not because I was travelling behind a little blue tank engine. Instead, I was hoping to be hauled by the B&KR's flagship ex-Caledonian Railway Class 439, a type of 044 suburban tank engine. With my luck, I always managed to visit Scotland's standard gauge heritage railways when their flagship locos are not running there. But with a whistle like that, how could I stay upset? So far I've shown you footage of a locomotive from each of the 1923 Big Four railway companies in steam. All, save for the Great Western Railway. I don't actually have any footage of a GWR locomotive, though not for lack of trying. I did film Manor Class number 7822 Foxcote Manor when she visited the Cantonese Sussex Railway in 2017, but somehow all of the footage of my Kent coast trip corrupted before I even got back onto the ferry. Gigabytes worth of footage of the Cantonese Sussex, the Romney Hythe and Dumchurch, and the Bluebell Railway. Gone. When talking steam, footage shot in the Netherlands is mostly exclusive to 3 classes of locomotive. The DB classes 01, 23 and 50. In fact, I have so much footage of them that I made a whole video discussing the abundance of German steam locomotives in the Netherlands. Again, links will be provided. Usually I don't like saying this, but as a result, I have grown a little tired of the German giants. But nonetheless, they have a charm of their own. 25,000. Surely, I have reached my zenith. I never thought I would get to this point. When I started doing YouTube, beyond uploading edits for friends to check out, I wanted to know the mechanics, for lack of a better word, of such a media platform. With me having found a comfortable niche, I think I have satisfied that curiosity, and I'm grateful for having been given the opportunity by you fine people watching. Realistically, this channel is never going to reach 50,000. But I like to think I'm way beyond the point of having to arbitrarily prove myself with big numbers. So, I can only thank you once more for watching, for your comments, negative or positive, and I hope you stick around. Cheerio!